James Clyburn of South Carolina. Congressman Clyburn, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. I want you to address the report that up to 30 to 35 Democrats may join the Republicans on this vote. A bipartisan vote sort of changes the politics of this Fast and Furious deal a little bit, does it not? What are you doing behind the scenes?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Chuck. First of all, I do believe that this issue goes far beyond oversight. I believe this is a bit of overkill on the part of this committee. It is not new to this committee. You may recall we spent a lot of time with this committee under Dan Burton with foolishness about Ron Brown and stuff they just made up. They're making this stuff up, and everybody knows it. Now, the fact of the matter is, when you look at the trail that I have familiarized myself with, there were about 4 of these so-called gun walking episodes, 3 of which took place in the Bush administration. And the same people who were held over into the Obama administration conducted one subsequent to that. So why is not Mr. Issa asking for all of these records, those things that took place under President Bush and how they led up to the one that took place under President Obama, and then let's take a look at what the facts are. But that's not what they want to do. They want to heap all of this onto Eric Holder, who, when he found out about it, stopped it. Why would you hold him responsible for those things that took place?
What do you think the motivation is?
I'm sorry?
What do you think the motivation is?
Oh, it's very political. We understand that. If you just look at what happened in Oklahoma on yesterday, where the Tea Partier beat the sitting Republican by 8 points. They are attempting to play to the Tea Party on these issues, wanting them to know that their agenda is being spoken to. Look at what happened in Pennsylvania last week, where the legislator laid out all of their accomplishments on behalf of the Tea Party and brought in the fact that we have passed our laws on voter ID in order to make it more palatable for Mitt Romney here in Pennsylvania. Those are his words, and that should tell the American people what this agenda is all about. This has nothing to do with running the country, but trying to do what they can to win an election.
Do you believe you have all the answers on what happened with the gun walking?
I do believe that. I believe it very sincerely. And when you get the answers, you have to always take into account that this Attorney General cannot allow himself to be bullied by people who are trying to push him to make mistakes. That's what this is all about. I come out of these kinds of politics, know exactly how this game is played, and so far Attorney General Holder is doing exactly what he ought to do, and that is run his office the way he was sworn to run it, and not allow himself to be bullied into doing things that could violate the law and destroy the credibility of the judicial system.
Let me ask you about the healthcare decision. What should Congress do in response if they strike down all or part of it?
Well, I hate to address what ifs, but you're a good buddy, and so I'll give it a shot this morning.
I appreciate it.
I believe this, that irrespective of what the Supreme Court may do on health care, we as members of the legislature ought to respond appropriately. Now, by that I mean, I was around back in the 60s when we failed to get voting rights and housing and public accommodations in the original Civil Rights Act of 1964. We came back a year later in 1965 and got voting. We came back 3 years after that in 1968 and got housing, fair housing laws. And then 4 years after that, in 1972, we outlawed employment discrimination in the public sector. So we had 4 distinctly different pieces of legislation over a period of 8 years to get to what we now call the Civil Rights Act. I think it's going to take the same thing with health care. Irrespective of what the Supreme Court may do, we are going to be working on accessibility to health care and affordability of health care for a long time out into the future.
All right, very quickly, the budget cuts, automatic budget cuts, supposed to kick in. A lot of speculation. It may get delayed until the spring of 2013. Is that vote happen before August? Is that your guess?
I don't know if it'll happen before August, but I think we've got plenty enough time to delay this after August. I would love to see us really allow some real good deliberations to take place. Whatever we do before the end of the year, it won't be for more than a year, I'm sure.
All right. Congressman Jim Clyburn, Democrat from South Carolina, Assistant Minority Leader, thanks for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.